You mentioned that with your first 2 children you were induced, and you're wondering if you'll have to be induced for your third or if there's a chance that you could go into labor spontaneously. Now, there's always a chance that you could go into labor spontaneously, but it kind of depends on your body and how much work it's doing leading up to the point of delivery. Now, in most cases, a woman's body will start to prep the cervix. Your body releases hormones called prostaglandins that act on the cervix and soften it and start to move it forward in your pelvis and thin it out. And then when your brain starts to release oxytocin, which is the hormone that makes your uterus contract, the contractions are, as long as they're frequent and intense, act on the cervix and cause it to dilate. But if your brain starts to release oxytocin and your cervix wasn't very ready for labor, then not much happens. So this is the process of spontaneous labor. Now, sometimes the option for induction is offered at 39 weeks because studies have been done that show that babies do really well after 39 weeks and the risk of complication is low. So if your cervix is ripe and ready, it's done all that prep work, and your doctor would know that by checking you, then they might say, hey, do you want to be induced at 39 weeks? And it's convenient if you have other children because you can get a babysitter, dad can get work off, and you come to the hospital and we start Pitocin and your body responds well and you deliver. And there's nothing wrong with that. When done under the right circumstances, then it's successful most of the time. Now, induction, you should know, does slightly increase your chance of having a C-section, because if we try to make your body do something that it wasn't ready to do, and we do all sorts of things to commit you to the hospital, but your body is being stubborn, then our only alternative is a C-section. But again, to prevent this, we don't induce you unless your cervix is ripe and ready. The medical term we use is actually ripe. So if the doctor offers you the opportunity to be induced again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're wanting to see if your body would go into spontaneous labor, there's also nothing wrong with that. You can just tell your doctor that you're wanting to see what happens, and as long as you and the baby are okay, then you can wait between 39 and 41 weeks to see what happens. But if any complications pop up in that amount of time, or especially if you get to 41 weeks and you haven't delivered yet, it's time to be done. And but the placenta has an expiration date, and it's not stamped anywhere where we can see it. We just know that nothing good happens after 41 weeks. It doesn't feed your baby as well as it should. So we need to get babies out at that point. And if that meant induction, then so be it, even if your chance of C-section is higher, because whether you deliver vaginally or by C-section, you need to have the baby. Now, once you get to be 37 weeks, you're considered full term. And if you start to have contractions after that point, you want to cultivate them and do whatever you can to help them get more frequent and more intense so your cervix starts to change. So if you start contracting regularly, move around, because an increase in activity can make you contract more. And the same thing that got you here might help you get out, if you know what I mean. Semen is actually a natural prostaglandin that acts on the cervix and helps it to thin out, soften, and move forward in your pelvis. And so sometimes this can help potentiate labor if your body's already thinking about doing it. If you have more specific questions about your situation, don't hesitate to ask your doctor, and based on their knowledge of your previous pregnancy history, they can give you the best information. But if you ever have any other questions for me in the future, feel free to ask them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Intermountain Moms. And recommend us to your friends and family too.